One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Let's talk about the news, which is that the vice president is going to sit down on Fox News. She's going to sit down with Bret Baier. According to Fox, it's her first formal sit-down interview on that network ever.
Right. She did not do it when she was running for president in 2019, briefly on the Democratic side, or as the sitting vice president, is significant. It's going to be in Pennsylvania. It shows one thing, that she is willing to take more risks because they believe that this is a deadlocked race on the margin, and she needs to do something to try and shake this up. It's also a sign of confidence in her, and that she has performed pretty well, most people agree, on 60 Minutes, on all of this batting practice that's been going on through podcasts and other things. But look, now is the time. People are going to be voting very soon. Some are, actually, millions are. And this is a sign that she is, again, we see so many lessons from 2016. I think this is yet one more example that they're putting everything out there. At the end of this, there's not going to be, oh, she didn't go to Michigan, she didn't go to Wisconsin, she didn't do this or that. They're doing everything.
This man is dangerous. Not to mention, Roland, let's fast forward to right now. His staff won't let him do a 60 Minutes interview. Every president for the last half century has done one, anyone who's running for president. Everyone has done it, except Donald Trump.
Did everyone have a fake interview where they cut up what you had to say because you were a blithering idiot and then repaste it together so that you look better? I'm just wondering, if everyone's done an interview, is that just a common practice? I don't believe it is. By the way, did everyone have to do an interview where Leslie Stahl actually lied to the president's face and tried to fact check him on something she knew nothing about? Is that normal? I just, inquiring minds would like to know.
He will not debate me again. I put out my medical records. He won't put out his medical records. And you have to ask, why is his staff doing that?
Because he's winning. That's why. There's the answer. You're a loser, lady, and he doesn't need to basically get on his knees and grovel to you anymore. Anyone who's been watching this race is watching you circle the bowl as you go down, down, and down. So you could pretty much answer your own question. If Roland Martin wasn't a cuck, a complete beta soy cuck, he would tell you to your face. He doesn't have to. Winners don't do that. They don't kowtow to losers. So you can, do the cutesy little things all you want, but the reality is you're in deep trouble. And tonight is going to be your comeuppance.
And it may be because they think he's just not ready.
I think it makes sense because she needs to speak to working class swing voters, independents, Republicans who are still on the fence. I don't know if you heard from her.
As I said this morning, what Republicans are still on the fence? I mean, don't talk to me about Adam Kinzinger. Don't talk to me about Liz Cheney. What Republicans are still on the fence? If you are still on the fence, as I said this morning, you are a complete moron.
Director to 270, David Plouffe, this morning, he thinks they're still gettable. And if those are the persuadable voters, you got to get them where they are. And they're watching Fox News. The people, really MAGA type Republicans, they think Fox is too liberal.
Yeah, she's right there.
They really do. I know this because I know a few of them.
You know what?
So Fox is really a place for Nikki Haley land voters.
It's actually, I think there's a misconception about who watches Fox, right? And it's really a lot of different types of people that she might.
It all depends on the show. I love watching Greg Gutfeld. I think it's one of the best shows on television. Me personally, I like watching Jesse and sometimes Laura, and that's pretty much it.
Need to talk to.
Some Democrats
she might need to talk to.
I like Fox.
I was actually surprised that she's never done a Fox interview.
You know what was amazing to me about this is, she turned down the Fox News debate. They offered a debate and she didn't want to do it. And now with 3 weeks to go, we're scrambling over to Fox News because this campaign is in a full-blown panic. I do want to say a word about Bret Baier. Everybody seems to be crapping on him today. Bret Baier is one of the best journalists out there. He's going to ask her good questions. And if the 60 Minutes interview or The View or anything else she's done lately was hard for her, Bret Baier is going to put her through her paces. And so this is a dangerous thing because he's a real journalist who's going to ask real questions.
Recent questions about Donald Trump. There's been a lot of recent questions based on an event he did recently. He played music for about 30 minutes straight. Just questions about his mental fitness for us.
Now, in case you can't hear, there's a moron reporter asking a moron candidate something that's just insane. This woman is asking Kamala Harris, hey, listen, Trump played like 30 minutes of music the other night at one of his events. Does that make him unfit? Does that mean like every person who's a DJ is unfit to do anything else? What kind of question is that? And then, of course, you get the crazy answer as well.
At this point, do you think Donald Trump needs to take a cognitive test?
Well, I'm going to say what I've said publicly and will say many times based on my observations, and I think the observations of many. Donald Trump is increasingly unstable, and as has been said by people who have worked closely with him, even when he was president, he's unfit to be president of the United States.
Yes. So she said that he's unfit and unstable. Funny. You didn't say that a couple months ago. Actually, you still have never said it about the guy who works down the hall from you. We want to know what your quality of assessment is. How's Dementia Joe doing? Let us know. Is he okay? Because you said, you do everything with him. You're right there. You wouldn't change a thing, so you think he's fine. So that pretty much negates anything you have to say about, the mental capacity of anybody. You can't judge anything.
To a lot of voters. And I will just say that you texted me right around the Democratic convention and you said, I am talking to people and Kamala Harris has a problem with black men.
Yeah. And I told the campaign I did not hear from them. Who am I for them to get back to me? But there's a problem. And look, I went from battleground state to battleground state. When they invited me to the convention, I didn't just want to fly there. I said, I'm going to go and talk to voters in battleground states. And I did. It was not curated. I went up to people just doing man on the street. I said, who are you going to vote for? Black men. And time after time after time, they said, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Why?
He seemed surprised by that. CNN seemed shocked by that. She goes, why? Why would they vote for Donald Trump?
Now, their reasons why. They said because most of the time they said, well, you know, for
4,000 members in little over 2 days. Little over 2 days, we've got 4,000 members. Go ahead and go to, oh, wait, I got it covered up. Sorry. Go to fanfareshop.org/group and you'll get linked up to the forum right away. fanfareshop.org/group and it'll take you right to the Twitter profile. Here we go. It's showtime.
Bret Baier, we are coming to you tonight from Washington Crossing, Pennsylvania. We have an exclusive interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee for president. You will see it in its entirety. It is her first formal sit-down interview with Fox News. The vice president held a campaign event with Republicans who support her just before the interview here in Washington Crossing. This is the spot that commemorates where George Washington crossed the Delaware River on Christmas 1776, the night before the Battle of Trenton. First, a look at today's other headlines. North Carolina's governor says nearly $100 million in relief aid has already...
All right, so Bret is going to talk about some other things beforehand. Let me tell you a little bit about this interview. You guys can see, so you'll see as soon as it comes on. All right, first of all, we don't know how long it's going to be. Bret's show is from basically 6 to 7. They announced that it was going to be 25 to 30 minutes. We don't know how long it lasts. It was filmed earlier at 5 o'clock or so, and as it's being filmed, we don't know what happened. Since it's not being broadcast live, I'm here live, but what they're going to do is they're going to show the entirety of the interview that they taped unedited. Let's see. Let's see what it's like. So we're just waiting for him to put it on. They've got it ready. He says it's not being edited. We'll be able to see. Here we go. You ready? Go.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries.
Ooh.
Whoa. Would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
She's not going to answer.
We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise.
She won't answer
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock, trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Bret.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungari's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking to border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
there were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
No, but let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel, to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got to take responsible for what happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in this presidency.
It's in
so
black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
On
it was
plans
different,
for the
but
American
we'll move
people,
on.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker,
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people say-
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of
She
our
hasn't answered the
plans
question.
for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
people
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
Donald Trump.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But you're
People
the
have
lever of
become,
power.
but listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him
Madam
instead
Vice
of
President,
the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
It's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a
So
cakewalk
are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
He didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
The significance of that.
You call Donald Trump... he's misguided. You say now he's unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
Joe Biden, no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out, even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the number one threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several hours on each occasion, that Iran posed a threat to Israel. I was there, most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself, and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
but those
is,
proxies were getting funded by
my
Iran.
commitment to that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates
and then
in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's
that
administration
go
that
the Iran regime
that we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches, not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished
and
the
Houthis.
significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things.
There's more to say. I have much more to say.
There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we invited you here.
I invite everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
and that's why we invited you here
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ouch. So if you're a betting person, maybe right about now you should be looking at putting some money in Polymarket or something. She's done. She's absolutely done. I could be wrong. I mean, who knows? The nuts may think it's a... Wait a second. Like, Bret's talking about this. Let's just take that.
You were the interviewer. I think that was an incredible 30 minutes, well spent by both of you. Now, I would say I thought some of her answers were a little bit thin, and I had to ask myself, where's the joy? There's no joy here. She came in kind of hot, and she got angrier. But at times, especially when she was trying to go after Donald Trump. She was fairly effective in that to try to get her point of view across. However, I would say on immigration that her answers were pretty thin. And there was one thing that she said, I think this was...
Well, I don't need her to recap. We all saw it. She's done. I mean, I'll take some comments from you guys, but somebody said, okay, you want to hear the commentators? I got to apologize to Bret Baier because I was like, whew, man, he's going to be soft on her. You know what's funny? When you look at that, he really wasn't hard on her. He asked her very simple questions. They weren't hard questions. It's just the questions she's not used to and she's been able to avoid. Why did you stop the border? I mean, why did you stop Trump's border orders and just let it fling open? It's a very simple question. That's not a hard question. Why did you open it? Couldn't answer it. And she went back and forth about this bill and the bill, and she just wouldn't answer the questions, as you heard. I don't need a commentator. You guys absolutely heard what she said. Most of the time, 90% of the time, she never answered the question. All she wanted to do was take shots at Trump. She had 30 minutes on a broadcast network, on what might be deemed an adversarial broadcast network, to show she had the goods. In my estimation, if you're going on something that's adversarial, you need to just be calm, number one. And number two, answer the questions. That way, Trump won't have to cut it up and do different things. Here's Martha McCallum talking about it.
It comes to mind the Bloomberg interview yesterday where he was getting pushback. She has not exposed herself to this kind of moment. And, you know, there were numerous occasions where she appeared to be scrambling a bit and that her answers were thin. I thought you really asked the questions that a lot of Americans want answers to, which is, how did you let all these millions of people come into the country, and do you have any regrets about it? And I think her answers were not good on that, you know. And about the economy, when you asked her what would be different under a Harris administration as opposed to a Biden administration, you know, the things that she brought up was that she would listen to Republicans and she would listen to the business sector. She also mentioned the $25,000, which we've heard about, that she offers home buyers. But we didn't get a clear, who are you? What do you stand for? What would America look like under a Kamala Harris economy? So
you didn't get that because she was lying and she doesn't know what to say. You talk to Trump, you may not like him, you may not like his answers, you may not like his attitude, but he's going to tell you what he thinks. This woman couldn't tell you what she thinks. She had a memorized script. She knew she had to get these points out. Whatever question he was going to ask, her answers are already prepared in her mind. And when he would throw her an uppercut, she would stop. You could actually see her try to figure out, what do I do? How do I respond? How do I counterpunch? And she had no counterpunches. She had to go right back to Donald Trump did this and this and this. You're on a network where everybody at the network, for the most part, the viewers of that network, already know what Donald Trump is all about. This was for you to basically, you know, convince some independents. And I think her entire camp, the strategy that they took with this interview, they completely blew it. There's very few undecided people right now. So you just basically went on Fox, which is, for the most part, a conservative network with conservative viewers for the most part. And you just tried to bash the person that they were going to vote for anyway. All you did was solidify what they were going to do. At this point, it makes everybody go, yeah, pretty much I picked the right person. You didn't convince anybody that you would do anything. Hey, Randy, yeah, all she did was lie and filibuster. Yeah, in those Bluetooth earrings, which is really interesting because a woman with her financial capacity to keep wearing the same earrings is kind of suspect, kind of sus there. Blew it is an understatement. Yeah, she just wanted to filibuster. I absolutely have to apologize for my feelings about Bret Baier. He did it right. And that's what every single person on every single network should be doing. They weren't hard questions. I mean, they're very simple questions. This is how it was. Why did you undo it? Can't answer it. You've been here for 3.5 years. What in the hell were you talking about the last decade? What? I have to turn the page. Turn the page from yourself. You're the page that you want to turn away from. And I think she really blew it, despite all the other stuff. I think she blew it when he gave her the chance. He gave her the opening. Hey, listen, you said twice now that you wouldn't change anything with Dementia Joe. But you say Trump's unstable and unfit. When did you notice that Joe was unfit? And she couldn't, obviously she can't do it. It was a perfect question. When the way he phrased it, sort of like, "Hey, when did you stop beating your wife?" He did that. He didn't give her any way out. When did you notice that Joe was off his rocker? And she just came back with, "Oh, he's fine. Donald Trump's the one who's crazy." You lost it. That right there is gonna. Oh, it's over. Yeah, yes, you're not wrong, bro. Complete takedown. I mean, you'd have to be, if you turn on CNN tonight or MSNBC, you'd have to be a complete, utter moron not to see that she was basically dodging and seeing what she could do. She wanted to get out of there. She wanted to take a Southwest flight. She wanted to get away. There was nothing of substance that she. And the worst thing about it. Okay, how do I say this? I don't want people to get pissed off at me. Some people got pissed off yesterday, but I'm going to tell you. The worst part about it, and I saw it in the comments, and the things in the comments were saying what a lot of black men and Hispanic men have been uttering. She looked, how can I say this, with much attitude. She didn't look like she wanted to engage with this reporter. If the reporter says something you don't like, smile and just say, "Hey, listen, Brett, here's what I want to do." But you keep smiling. And she came off like that word that black men and Hispanic men have been saying she is. All that did was basically reinforce every stereotype. It did her. The people on MSNBC and CNN and NBC won't say this, because they can't. But you ask people, and I saw it in the comments. I actually saw it in the comments. And I saw some trolls, and I know the mods were overwhelmed with the amount of people. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I saw what people were saying. And I'm looking over, and I'm like, and they were changing the word to witchy. She's acting like a witch. Biatch. It was coming across. And it's interesting to me because I know men think that. What I would love to know, how did women think that went? Because we already know the men are moving towards Trump, and she did nothing to basically cut that bleeding off. She applied no tourniquet. The bleeding is going to get worse with black men, Hispanic men, and men overall, except for the nut jobs that white dudes for Harris. I want to know if she caused another cut. If women watched that and went, "Wow, she's a liar. Wow, she's not even really doing anything about getting pissed off." I want to know how women looked at that. So if you're a woman, go ahead and let me know. I mean, because somebody goes, "White guys think she's that too." I can't put it out there. Yeah, here's Pamela. She was awful. I mean, it's something at this point that I think women are going to look at that. Even some people who may have been on the fence. Yeah, she came across like the typical woman with attitude. And you know what she means. Okay? So she didn't need to exude that. That's something. I'm telling you right now. That is something that the media won't talk about. They can't. But what she displayed tonight is going to cause a lot of people, when they're sitting on the couch and they're not watching news, and "Hey, honey, she looked like a you-know-what. She didn't look like, your typical hell on wheels woman who wants to take care of business." That's not what she came across as. She came across as, "I'm a complete you-know-what." There's a difference. And those of you who have been in business and worked, you know the difference. You can be a forceful woman, you can be a forceful man, but she came across as attitudes. How dare you? let me interrupt you. Let me keep ramming this down your throat. I'm not saying she had to be a lady. I'm not talking about that. So don't get me wrong. I'm not being misogynist. I think a woman should be able to stand up for herself as well. But that's not what she did. She evaded, she avoided, she lied, and she had no answer for things. When he said to her, "What are you turning the page from? You're the page. You're the book." Well, it's 10 years ago with Donald Trump. I'm like, 10 years ago? It's 2024. 10 years would be 2014. Donald Trump wasn't in office in 2014. And you think that Liz Cheney is going to influence anyone on either side? You think Mark Milley, that crazy she had a perfect opportunity. And when you have a perfect opportunity, you need to take it, especially when you're losing. Last point with that. Did you notice he said something to her and she didn't counter it? When he said, "You're losing in the polls right now and 78% of people think this," she didn't stop that statement. I'm going to rewind it and I'm going to cut it and have it for a video, put it up. But she didn't stop it. If somebody said, "Hey, you're losing," "Hey, no, I'm not. I'm up in this. We're fighting. It's basically tooth and nail right now." She didn't say anything. The subliminal suggestions, the subliminal insert of the words, she wasn't. People watching would know she's not quick enough on her feet to listen. And the reason being is when you're questioning somebody like that, and that's how some lawyers really, really are great in terms of courtroom. I used to take some time and just go sit in courtrooms. And the thing with, number one, you never ask a question you don't already know the answer to. And what an attorney is trying to do, because they know your attorney has prepped you to say the right things, to act a certain way. And what they're trying to do so that the jury can see you is get you off of your script. I know questioning you, if I'm a prosecutor, you're going to say these different things. But if I could ask you in repetition or come back at you, it's not me you're answering. And that's what her problem is. She thought she was talking to Bret Baier, when in actuality, she's talking to the nation. This is one of our highest streams that we had here with concurrent viewers. At one point, it was 65,000 concurrent viewers. She got wrapped up in the conversation with Bret, got pissed off at him, and started looking at him, and she forgot about the jury. She got pissed at he got her. He got under her skin when she didn't even conceive of the fact that there were millions of people over here. Her jury was watching her movements, and they were watching her take the big gulp when she talked at times. It was masterful in terms of how he interviewed her. And I'm giving you guys some insight into, understanding how he did that. She wanted to come across polished. She wanted to come across prepared. She wanted to attack her opponent, but she forgot about her actual audience. So you have to be strong enough when you're having this kind of conversation to understand, I'm talking to Bret Baier and blah, 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 but I have to be cognizant of the people sitting right here watching me. If you watched Donald Trump in the town hall yesterday, the guy knows how to play to an audience. The reason she doesn't, because every single appearance she does is fake. She's not used to talking to people and relating to them and realizing that there are people watching and what they're surrounding me with. Because she's an egotistical, you-know-what. So that's just how I break it down. Bret matlocked her, absolutely. Thank you very much, great analysis. Thank you very, very much. She's an emotional wreck, not fit to see. That's another thing. You want a president that's fiery when they need to be, but calm and collected when they don't need to be. Very few times do you see a president out there looking like they're enraged. Although behind closed doors, they're probably very much often enraged. She let it all out there. You can't handle this. You can't handle Bret Baier asking you questions. Now everybody's going to say, if you can't handle Bret Baier asking you questions, how can you sit across from, Putin or Xi Jinping? They're going to eat you for lunch. They already know they can get to you. I mean, what if one of these guys actually said the word? I'm not talking to you, B. What would she do? Don't think that wouldn't happen. You're looking at an international adversary who wants to attack you. I'm sure some of these people have called Obama the N-word. But you got to come up cool. You got to come back and say, listen, I understand what you're doing. It ain't going to work on me. It worked on her. It worked on her. She is scary bad. It's over. It's over. At this point, all they're going to have to do is cheat. That's it. That's it. And violence. There's nothing left. We are at October 16th. We're a little over 2 weeks left. Trump's out there with event after event after event. She can't live this down. This is going. Watch how bad it is. Okay, you'll be able to tell how bad it is. It is 6:45 on Wednesday evening. I'd be surprised if many people past tomorrow afternoon are even talking about this on these other news channels because they're going to want it to go away. Trump's not going to let her. He's not going to let her. Bret Baier, I'm sure, had more questions. He didn't even get to the taxes. He didn't get to the 300,000 kids. She can't answer, and I'm sure people realize it right now, she can't answer any of those questions. None of them. Not a thing. All these people who backed her, at George Clooney, she was running for cover. To the point where all he was doing was asking her nominal questions. I could see if he said, listen, no, I can't. It was such a topical question that she folded under. That's what's really bad. They were not tough questions. You know, we're all saying Bret didn't. I'm sure CNN, Bret beat up on her. No, he didn't. He just asked her the same questions you and I want. Hey, you've been here 3.5 years. Why haven't you done it? And you're telling me at this point in this campaign, you still don't have an answer for that. Why did you fling open the border? You still don't have an answer for that. I don't care if it was a wrong answer. I don't care if you say, listen, we thought about it, we were going to do it, and this happened, and the other thing happened, but to just ignore it. Well, we were waiting on the bill. Why didn't you wait on the bill before you undid Trump's orders? Well, yeah, makes sense, right? What if you knew you wanted to do what you wanted to do, you wanted to get a bill, why didn't you leave that in place until you had the bill that you wanted? Whew. Economy. 79% people think Trump can do better. Why do they think that way? I don't know. It's over. It's so over. It just proves that DEI hires don't work. Jeff, you're right. She opened a wound. It's bad. It's absolutely bad. She came. Wait, where is that? I moved so fast. Somebody said she came across as though she was entering menopause. Whew. It's going to get overwhelming now. I'm going to refresh Polymark and see if anyone's been placing any more bets. But you can watch all the different. It's over. It's over. So before I go, I had this piece. I was going to play it before the when I was doing the intro, but I don't know if you guys saw this, and this is pretty interesting. So what we have here is Barack Obama and Joe Biden at Ethel Kennedy's funeral today, and somebody caught them in a hot mic. You got to see this. You definitely got to see this because oh boy.
There could be Nancy Pelosi being hauled off to jail.
Give it a second. All right. So people are like in a hot mic. What are they talking about? This is today. This is today, and to me, I think it's still got the funeral music to it. Yeah. It reminded me of that scene in The Godfather, and you're looking at Barack. Joe looks completely lost. And they're having a stern conversation. There's no smiles there. Did they know? Did they know at this point she was going to flub? I don't know. Maybe some of you guys who read lips, but you can look at Joe's face. He just got a look of death on his face. He taps him. Wait, let's talk about this. Are you seeing this? That's not a good conversation they're having right there. Just loved using that to wrap things up, because it seems like they were getting ready for Kamala's funeral. the presidential campaign funeral. And like, oh, she'd look good in that casket, wouldn't she? Yeah, she'd probably look good. Is it over? It's over, Joe. It's over. She's not going to make it. No, she's not going to make it. So are you going to put Hunter in jail? Not really sure what's going to happen, Joe. I think it's every man for himself at this point. Trump's going to go crazy on us. Trump's coming for us. He knows what we've done, and she couldn't pull it off. That's what that looked like to me. As I was watching that, I'm like, yeah, that's not good, happy to see me right there. What's going on? And then, of course, what did Dementia Joe do, or Obama, or whoever is running things right now? They shipped off another $425 million to that country over there. 2 weeks before the election, 3 weeks before the election, they just looked in America's face, looked at the people in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, who are hurting, who can't get measly $750, can't figure out why they can't live their lives. A hurricane goes through Florida for the second time in less than a month. All these people are hurting. You got to fill out all these papers and go to this website and do that. And meanwhile, he ships $400+ million to Zelensky. If that's not the middle finger to America 3 weeks before an election, I don't know what is. What is? I mean, it's incredible. I don't know if you guys knew that. $400+ million. That would go a long way to helping people in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida who are suffering. I had to put my wife on a plane earlier today. She's going up to see her relatives, or her stepmom that is going into hospital. And I said, be careful up there. And they said, yeah, we'll meet her at the airport to make sure everything's okay. And she, she's texting me as she's got in up there and saying, oh my God, this place looks like a war zone. Just yesterday, they found a house of 5 people. Husband and wife, 3 kids, all dead. How'd they die? Probably in one of the worst ways imaginable. They died of starvation and dehydration. They hadn't eaten, no water. I mean, you can go more than 7 or 8 days without food, but once you get past like 4 or 5 days without water, you're done. And that's they died. They found all 5 people. And it doesn't get talked about on the news. It doesn't make big headlines anymore. We're off to on top of something else right now. We have a big election. Hey, those people in North Carolina, they'll be okay. We'll figure it out. Meanwhile, you're stroking a check for $400 million to Zelensky. Is that okay with you? Seriously, are you okay with that? Those of you, even if you don't have relatives, family, or friends up in these states, or if you're not in Florida getting affected by Milton, are you okay with Dementia Joe and that woman signing a check and sending $400 million of your dollars over there? It's an insult. Everything about Biden, he's now gone, and this woman, who's a lie, unethical, just complete slime scum as far as I'm concerned, and they took $400 million of your dollars and shipped it off. I don't care if there's any trolls in here or not. You tell me how that's okay. You tell me if it was 1 million, how it would be okay. I don't know how far 400 million would go in those affected areas, but I'm pretty sure it could go really far. It's awful. It's awful. There's this entire administration could care less about Americans. And they make all these hollow promises. And while they're making these promises, understand this and tell all your friends, while they are making these promises and telling black men, we're going to give you $20,000 to start a business, and we're going to give you this, and we're going to give you that. You haven't given us anything. It's all promise. A promise we've heard many, many, many times before. Meanwhile, you are actually doing stuff for this other country. America gets the promise, the other country gets the cash. You make that make sense. Stop promising, do it. Kamala, you had a bad interview? You know what? Walk into the office, the Oval Office, and tell Joe, sign this document and close the damn border. And then while you're at it, sign this document and give these people $300-400 million. Don't wait till January. Why are you waiting? You're Miss Badass. Go ahead and give out this money. Get the National Guard. Get the military. You said her last closing statement, well, we want to have the best, finest military. Well, you got a war zone. These people died from waiting for something to drink for 5 days, and you're sitting around, walking around saying, oh, yeah, Donald Trump's unfit. He's unstable. Hey, here's Zelensky. Here's $400 million. Stop the promises. Start doing. That's why people don't believe you, because they see what you're actually doing to these other countries and sending them gazillions of dollars, and all we get are promises that eventually it's coming. Vote for me again, and I'll turn the page from what I've done, and I promise when I get in office in January, I'll do what you want me to do. Sorry. We're out of it. We're not believing you anymore. I speak on behalf of every black man out there. Done. You're a liar. Ain't got nothing for you. Yeah, of course, Cheryl. Of course they want it wide open. They just don't even have the balls to tell people what they really, really want. All it is a shell game, and they can't tell you what their real objective is. White dudes for no handouts. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew that. Yeah, that country, where is it? Where'd it go? But that's what it is. They keep shipping our money over there. Look up Agenda 21. They just fulfilled it right in front of our eyes without hesitation. Word to the berry. All right, so we got a busy day. Thank you guys for tuning in. So I'm going to find if I can get the stream for tonight. Believe it or not, just to let you guys know, believe it or not, there's yet another event. All right, so Trump is doing a town hall tonight with Univision. And I don't know if my providers and streamers and stuff, I can get the stream. If I can get the stream, I'll go live tonight at, I think it's 9:30 or 10 o'clock, third stream of the day. Because I'd love to see him talking to the Hispanic audience. It's happening down here in Miami. So I'm going to search around. I'm going to get out of here quick, walk the dog, get something to eat, and let me see if I can find out where I can stream that. First, let me acknowledge the fine people who donated and gave super chats, as always, because that's very important. Oh, while you're waiting, while I'm doing this in the background, do me a favor, if you'd like to join us over on our Twitter/X profile, community group, please, by all means, we'd love to have you over there. At this point, I checked, there was like 4,000 people. We're simulcasting on X now all the time, so it's a big party going on over there as well, and it's fun. It's fun. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and acknowledge the fine people. What do we got here? Who am I? Who are you? Barry, this is the best interview ever. Listen, all people, run from this lady. Blacks, Latinos, do not be afraid to shout Trump from the roof. Off the plantation, join me. I'm joining you. I've been off. Yep, I got you. Thank you very much. Club 1852, thank you, brother, or ma'am. It is painful to hear that voice anymore. Lost a few brain cells listening to her. I hear you. Ozark Ghost Hunter, Barry, civilian, police, and military authorized to use lethal force. Yep. It was just put into effect. We did look into it. You'll see a lot of people talking about it in our forum. Big Cat, hey brother, hello MAGA heads and beautiful patriots, back to you. 3540, after Trump works at McDonald's, he needs a W-2 to wave in Kamala's face. Do I still have that image? Let me see if I can find that. Oh yeah, so for what we gather on Friday, Trump is going to go to a McDonald's somewhere. I think it was in Pittsburgh, we said, and he's going to go and work the fryer-later at McDonald's. While she didn't even work there, he's going to be able to come after her and say, listen, at least I worked in a McDonald's. Whew, that's going to be amazing. Maria Leslie Stahl in Time Magazine, discredit Harris's lie. Who am I again? Thank you. Black Latino off the plantation. It took 30 to vote today in New England. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tommy Ratcliffe, the little white guitarist. Bret Baier hates Trump. He will not push her. Watch and mark my words. Hey man, you and me both. You must have posted that before the interview. We got some egg on our face because he did it. Paddlefoot, oh my God, Harris, you're lying. Answer the question. Jay Fuzzler, yep, those same earrings again. B. Michael Nace, thank you. Brett is killing it from Ski Bro. Thank you very much. Cliff Leibowitz, thank you, brother. Polite, rude guy. This woman is not smart. I think that's quite evident. I think a lot of people are wondering, hey man, how'd she ever pass the bar? Ever? How'd she get a degree? Paddlefoot again, she'd rather be having a beer with Colbert than answering legitimate questions. She was hot. She couldn't take it. Bonnie Mrozik, thank you twice here. Bullcrap, we need that border closed, period, absolutely. Diamond G, thank you. Omega level, oof. Eric Schweitzer, she can't answer anything. She can't even say sorry. Yep, nope. I'm sorry what happened to him. That's not what I asked you. Are you sorry for leaving the border open? No, never mind. Polite rude guy, just say no, lady. No, I do not. Really. Monique Abram, I want her to look in the eyes of the families and explain why she left the border open. Never going to happen. She couldn't do it. Eric Schweitzer, we love you, Barry. God bless you and your family and you as well. Jay Fuzzler, again, she's rattled. She was really rattled. Barbara Duffy, holding her feet to the fire. LC, please see through her obvious BS. I hope people do. Because I'm telling you, the media is going to work overdrive right now trying to tell everybody it's not as bad. She's okay. Paddlefoot again, I do not need a prisoner in custody to be trans. Yep, I agree. Mary Boston, oh my G, on steroids with absolute liar. You hear the whine and her nastiness against we American people. Gene Hickey, it's over. It is over. Anybody holding on to this right now is just lying to you. Just straight up lying to you. X-Corn, she's obsessed. Ski Bro, Camila is a lying. Yep, absolutely. Buster 5, but Joe Biden was doing so good, right? Exactly. So that's a good point. If he was doing so well, why did he quit? So question nobody will ever answer. Henry Schrader, Trump fell off the couch laughing watching this. I have to believe that he fell so hard the airplane, if he's traveling down here to Miami, was shaking. I can't believe she's saying this. He'll probably use it tonight too. Capri Smith, them earrings. Yep, you guys are noticing it. Eric Schweitzer again, she's losing it. Pam Ronning, she's got nothing at all. Ben, Kamala Harris hates America. Yep, I think we can be pretty confident in saying that. Dub, Kamala, come on, man, you're killing me on this interview. I would love if somebody put up a poll. I can't do it now because most people are gone. But what do they think about this, Joe? And you have been in power the last 4 years. Over the last decade, Obama and Joe have had the majority of the power and length. Wow, talk about Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, what was she talking about over the last decade? Huh? What are you talking about? Trump was only in office 4 of those years. So who was the other 6? You and him. Turnt. If she cares about Americans and the economy so much, why did she tweet about sending millions overseas to Lebanon while the people of North Carolina were suffering? Exactly. Jessica Constantine, Kamala Harris is a lying liarton from Liarville. She makes me sick. Come on, dude, call her out. Really get in there, Barry. I'm a damn voting for Trump. Oh, well, welcome to the family. Country lady, thank you. Hart say, how many times has she said Donald Trump's name? I don't even know. I think the answer to every single question was Donald Trump. Donald Trump. She blew her opportunity. Mayorkas does need to be locked up for what he has done, Ryan says as well. Arnold, well, you have jailed people, to be honest, not Trump. Oh, yeah, when she went on that diatribe, I forgot about that. Donald Trump's going to put everybody in jail, and she misconstrued his words, everything. Regular Joe, if it's clear to her, it's clear to no one else. You are the enemy within. You have failed to protect the American people. You, madam, have blood on your hands. Barbara Duffy, she is downright rude. Can you see her with Xi or Putin? Nope, can't. Nope, I can't see her with any world leader who would put her in her place. Denise Voorhees, it's game over, Kamala. Absolutely. Polite, right, rude guy again. Thank you. Kamala is unstable. Harris, you are a liar. She lie. Studio B, this made my day. Tommy Arrowwood, thank you, Brett. I never thought it would go this way. Dub, she said Biden has the experiment. Oh, so in my opening, Kamala is a deer in a headlight. A couple times she just had that look like, oh, what am I going to do? Kate Callahan, does Kamala not realize that her lying has consequences? Thus far, it hasn't, and she has surrounded herself with people who basically support her lying. Lynn Mosley, thank you. Ski Brogan, Public Law 107-40, 107th Congress. Yep, you guys need to look at that. This is great for Trump, says Silver Voyager. I believe it was too. Meet Lee. She lost Michigan on that one. Yep, she did. Chris, Midas could run the country better than her. Midas is my little chihuahua. He's laying down right there. Mary Doyle and Donald Trump. She's sickening. She got nothing. Donald Trump. It was over and over. Obama's new puppet. Yeah, exactly, Tony. Meet Lee. Thank you. Regular Joe. Thank you. We've been in power for 4 years. Everything sucks. It's Trump's fault. Trust me, to keep it all the same, I would do nothing different. Vote for me so I can keep blaming Trump, I guess. Jessica Constantine. The earrings are giving her the answers. Anything that makes any sense coming from those earrings. Like I said, I've talked to my wife, and my wife has a number of pairs of earrings. She's got her favorite pair, and we'll go out to dinner, but it's not always the same pair. And if you noticed, her hair was different tonight, or her wig, or whatever, and how it covered her ear. I don't know if you noticed that. You can go rewind and look. On the right side, she usually has it pulled back so you can see both ears, and this time her hair was over her earring. Little things you notice in a woman. Mary Doyle, I swear if she gets in the White House. Thank you, Mary. Your family's the bomb. Much love from Lower Alabama. Norma J, thank you. Angry pseudo-black woman. Dub, Kamala is scrambling. We aren't voting for you. How you like your eggs here? You got absolutely destroyed. She did. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Tony Giles again, Obama's new puppet. Miko Rod, thank you. Is she going to blow up and say Trump, talking to world leaders? Let's see. RM, we don't want to read her website. We want to know from her mouth. Good point. Hey, go look at the website, where the website can tell you what I'm going to do. But I can't really tell you because I don't really know. They just told me to tell you to go there. Tommy Radcliffe, Brett did okay, but no one ever asked her about the flying in of the newcomers. Nobody wants to really talk about that. You ever notice that? In fact, most people probably wouldn't know it if it wasn't for Trump. Donna, that was music to my ears. President Trump is laughing his butt off, absolutely. Pittsburgh Press, great job, Barry. Thank you very much. Regular Joe, I am a legal immigrant, and I'm terrified of the amount of newcomers allowed to enter this country. They need to go. If allowed to stay, they will destroy this country's future for our children. Well said. Well said. Gina Duncan, witchy, hostile, and arrogant. Yep. Man Cheese, thank you. Mike McCarthy, wow, she's not getting better. She's getting worse. I now apologize publicly to Brett. He did awesome. Yeah, me too. I have to apologize to Brett. Like Abigail Adams, thank you for all the hours you devote to bringing us the videos and then sharing an informative review afterwards. Thank you very much for watching. I don't take that for granted. Nancy Jennings, I owe Brett an apology. He rocked it. Her answers were all about bashing Trump. I don't think she understood what she was walking into. I mean, she knew what she wanted to say, and she was going to ignore his questions, but Brett was like, nah, okay, what I asked you was... Catherine, thank you. Catherine, again, thank you. Yes, she blew that. Oski, thank you very much. T. Mallet, she tried burning Trump and said she got burnt. Yep. Sweets, thank you very much. Sandy M. Barry, are you going to catch some of the clips from CNN and share with us? We need a good laugh. Oh, I will. Yeah, so you don't have to watch. I will grab them if they even talk about it too much. LC, she had a total B attitude. Yep. That's what I'm telling you. Guys looking at going, no, man, that ain't it. Nah. Don't want that. John Turner. And it is what it is. Is it stereotypical? Is it misogynist? You can say whatever you want. It's about a voting block. And that voting block of certain men ain't into that. Not at all. Paddlefoot, she got flustered and mad. No way she's ready to be a POTUS. Nope. Biscuit Boy, thank you. Intrigue Tech, thank you. Can't fight her way out of a paper bag. Truly the witch we know she is. Proof she will be America's downfall. I agree. Lisa Haas, thank you. K-Dog sending Biden, I'm sorry for putting up with her. He can't wait for a divorce either. I saw that face my ex-wife had. Oh, yeah. Mary says, I meant to say, I swear if that thing gets in the White House. Donna, I live in Asheville, and that's the most fun I've had in 18 days. Thanks, I needed that. I hope everything's going well for you, Donna. Rude, she has no answers. No, she didn't have anything. Tommy Ratcliffe again. Bret allowed to debunk Charlottesville lie. I don't think Bret had to worry about that. I think so many people now know it's a lie. He's like, look at this pitiful woman who's running for vice president or running for president. It's pitiful. That's all you got. That's all you got is lies. Joe Jarvis, where'd you go? Where's Joe Jarvis? Thank you. Jeremiah Kerr, thank you. She totally deflected the comment regarding taxpayer dollars for Transformers. Yep. Donna Katzenberg, thank you very much. Carmen Flores, I love how informative your podcast is, Barry. Thank you very, very much for watching. And last, but I think this is last. Let me just think. Let's scroll. Yes. Diana McGowan. I was waiting for her head to spin like the movie The Exorcist. So you thought she was going to go full on Linda Blair and woo hoo hoo. Yeah, she was probably going to do that. All right. So everybody, thank you very, very much for tuning in. I can't thank you enough. Everybody with the super chats. I'm going to eat some dinner, take the dog for a walk, and I'm going to see if indeed I can find the Univision stream for tonight at 9:30 or 10. With the wife not here, I'm gonna basically do videos like a bachelor. I can sit in here and just go all night because I'm by myself and with the little dog. So I need some company. So if I do it, y'all got to come back. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you.